All right, good Wednesday morning to you guys. I think it's Wednesday. So you guys, your voices are being heard. We got Chad Cronister's withdrawal from the DEA nomination, Fannie Willis's legal setbacks, and unveiling COVID-19's origins. There's a new bombshell report out, and we're going to talk about that today. Today, guys, those are the three pivotal stories: the withdrawal of Chad Cronister as DEA nominee, a significant legal setback or significant legal issue for Fannie Willis, the Georgia, um, Sorry, once again, my microphone just wants to mess with me, and let me see if I can change. I want to see if I can change it up. Yeah, let's try that right there. Okay. Yeah, I think it's good to keep doing it, but we're gonna just keep going. But anyway, yeah, you guys know Fannie Willis down there in Georgia. That's on the witch hunt, election interference case against Trump. She had some bad news delivered to her, but she's been doing some shady stuff down there. So we're gonna talk about that. And the new bombshell House report on the COVID-19 origin. It's only been 4 years. But first, guys, before we get into all that, make sure that you like and subscribe to the show, no matter where you're hearing it at. If you're over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to follow and do me a favor down at the bottom. If you scroll all the way down at the bottom of the app, you'll see a place where you can do a rating and review. Make sure that you do that because it will help get the show up in the algorithm so that more people can find it. And we can get this message out to more people. I really appreciate it. A little bit of love to all my people and my fam over there on TikTok. You guys are awesome. You're amazing. You push out the videos from the show, and you guys are just awesome. And I love you. And we're growing leaps and bounds over there. So if you're not, or if you are on TikTok, follow me over there. And if you're not, consider it. It's probably going to get banned here in a month anyway, so it may not matter. But definitely consider going over and follow me on TikTok. All right, let's jump into this. So Chad Cronister has officially, let me go ahead and pop this up for you guys. He has withdrawn his name. I think your guys' voices are being heard. We brought this up on a previous episode. And I said to you guys, I don't think this is a good pick. I think this is bad. And I don't think people are going to like it. And that was like the first bad pick that I thought Trump had. But here's Chad Cronister's statement. To have been nominated by President-elect Donald Trump to serve as administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration is the honor of a lifetime. Over the past several days, as the gravity of this very important responsibility set in, I've concluded that I must respectfully withdraw from consideration. There is more work to be done for the citizens of Hillsborough County and a lot of initiatives I am committed to fulfilling. I sincerely appreciate the nomination, outpouring of support. Yeah, I doubt it. By the American people, and look forward to continuing my service in Hills as the sheriff of Hillsborough County. So there's the statement. But I think I don't think the reason he's stepping down is because he's got other commitments. I think it's because you guys spoke up. You guys have been out there posting, all about your disapproval of this pick, how he seemed too woke as a sheriff. Down there in Hillsborough, and how this isn't really what the mandate the American people gave Trump, right? Like these aren't the type of nominations that we want to see. And if we keep doing this is such a huge lesson for the American people, because there doesn't appear to be anything in his background, right? Doesn't appear to be anything wrong. It's not like the Matt Gaetz nomination where it's a witch hunt and they're trying to get him on all kinds of made up charges and blackmail and etc. I mean, this guy appears to have nothing wrong with his background, but he folds. But if you guys remember, I came out, I mentioned it, and there's been hundreds of thousands of people that have been saying this is a bad choice. They said it was a bad choice because of how he has acted as sheriff of Hillsborough County for the last several years. And here's a post right here. I think this is still pulled up for you guys. Yeah, so I pulled this up. This guy summed it up pretty good. COVID tyranny. This guy arrested a local pastor in 2020 for keeping his church open. He promotes woke policies, participating in Tampa Pride events, etc., which I don't care if somebody participates in a Pride event. But if you are expanding DEI programs within, the sheriff's department down there, that could be a problem because we don't think DEI is Marxism. And when you really get into the nuts and bolts of DEI, it's Marxism. That's why people are against it. It's not because we're against diversity or inclusion. We are against equity because equity is a Marxist principle. We're not against equality, and we're not against diversion or inclusion. I said diversion. I meant diversion. We're not against diversion. I think that's what I just said was diversion. Diversity. We're not against diversity, and we're not against inclusion. We are against equity, right? Because equity is socialism. It's Marxism. It's a Marxism principle. But we're not against equality. So if you're trying to ramrod, stuff that was built with Marxist talking points into an organization, that's bad. I do think every organization should have diversity. I do believe every organization should have equality and inclusion of all people, but not Marxist principles, right? We're not going to take for some, and we're not going to say, well, because you didn't start in the same place, we need to make sure you end in the same place. That's Marxism, guys. That's socialism. Equality says that the individual has a responsibility in their success, as it should be, right? Because otherwise, then the state is taking care of you. And when the state is taking care of you, that's socialism, right? So anyway, I digress. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole anymore. But he was soft on crime. He released offenders with repeat offender with 35 priors. I mean, and this guy, he breaks it down. He was a gun grabber. He was a big supporter of red flag gun confiscation. He was a Democrat donor, including Barack Obama, and he was weak on immigration. He repeatedly released from custody in Hillsborough County illegal immigrants that had been picked up. And, the American people, when they saw this pick, they were like, no, this is not okay. This is not okay. This is not who we want. I mean, the guy's jailing passers. He's reluctant to enforce immigration laws. And the public response was immediate, and it was severe. And this is the lesson, right? And I know I got a little off track there, but this is the lesson, guys. Your voice matters more than ever right now. And as long as we keep amplifying those voices, I think we can really affect change. Now, this requires, okay, like we all know, this requires the Trump administration, senators, and congressional members to listen, right? We can yell and scream at the top of our lungs that, these are the things that we want done in America, and these are the nominees we want. These are the nominees we don't want. We can yell and scream all we want, but if they refuse to listen, then there's nothing we can do except vote them out. And this is the hard part, right? This is where the rubber meets the road. And guys, I am going to wring this chamois out on every week for the foreseeable future, because we cannot get lulled back to sleep. Because the hard part is remembering promises made, promises not kept when the next cycle comes around, when it's time to reelect these people. And we have to remember, like, we cannot just brain dump everything and forget everything that happened. And that's partially what this show is for. This is my accountability tool to make sure we don't forget, and to make sure that I can help you guys, not forget. So you can go live your life. You can go work your job. You can check out for a month or two on politics because you're just getting tired of it. And you can come back and check in here, and I will keep you up to date on who's kept their promises, who's listening to the American people, and who's not. So I will be your accountability tool out there, because I love you guys, and I want to make sure that we hold their feet to the fire. Now, they have to listen, and if they don't, well, we're going to vote them out. That's just where we're at right now. So I think the Trump administration's reaction demonstrates that they are paying attention to the public sentiment. I really do. And, I don't think Trump is going to be as brash to nominate somebody, see the public sentiment, and then, withdraw somebody's nominee. I think he's going to go to them and say politely, and I think he probably did this with Matt Gaetz and said, hey, man, you ain't got the votes, or you don't have the public support. Now, I could be wrong here. Trump, maybe this is just, kind of, it looks like, right? This maybe happenstance where it looks like the Trump administration is listening to the people. I could be completely wrong, and we'll find out, because there's going to be, other things coming up that we're going to see if the Trump administration is listening to the people. Because I again, I appreciate Donald Trump. I respect Donald Trump. I'm so happy he ran. I supported him. I voted for him 3 times. 3 times I voted for Donald Trump. But just because I appreciate his presence in the political world, I mean, if not for him, we wouldn't have seen so egregiously behind the veil of the bullcrap going on in DC. I mean, he's the one that kind of ripped it open. It was the all out full court press on Trump that allowed us to kind of peek behind the veil and see the whole picture of how corrupt this system is and how far the lengths this system will go to make sure that the status quo is not upset. Right. That's why it was a full court press on Trump since 2016. Well, since he got out of the primaries in that election cycle. But I appreciate Trump. I respect him. I voted for him. I support him. But that doesn't mean I will not hold him accountable. And you guys have to feel the same way. Like, this man campaigned on going and draining the swamp. This man campaigned and came into our towns and our communities and said this is what he would do. So this isn't about fandom, right? This isn't about being a Donald Trump fan. Okay. We just hired him for a job. Now we need to supervise him. Now we need to manage him and manage the expectations that we, the people, have for him. So this isn't the time to just turn a blind eye to when Trump doesn't keep a promise. No. We have to hold his feet to the fire too, his administration's feet to the fire, every one of these nominees. And every one of these senators and congressional House of Representative members that we down ballot voted for, every single one of them, we have to keep our eyes on and hold them accountable. And that's what this show is going to do. I'm working in the backgrounds right now to set up a section of the website to where you guys can go. It'll be like a dashboard where you can literally go and see who's keeping their promises and who's not, and who's on the verge of being voted out, when their next election is going to be, and the alternative choices that we have to vote them out. I'm working on that in the background. But we have to keep doing this because, guys, this is Chad Chronister thing. This withdrawal as his nomination for DA, that is huge, and there's a lesson in this that we do have a voice. And if we speak loud enough about this stuff, I do think the Trump administration will listen. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. They may not listen to us, but I think they will. What do you feel? Do you guys feel that the administration genuinely listened to the public's concerns about this guy? Do you think they are in general listening to the public's concerns? Share your thoughts in the comments, wherever you're seeing this on social media, because I'd really like to know. I mean, do you guys feel that the administration is genuinely listening to the American people? Because that is important moving forward. And I think this is a great thing. It's a great testament to the impact of collective voices that Chad Chronister is removing himself from consideration for DEA. So I think it's a good thing. Hey, if you guys have not went out and picked up a copy of We the Puppets, the audience for the best illusion ever performed, please do so. It's a great book. The feedback is in, the reviews are in. It's doing amazing. Here's a copy of it right here. You can get it in paperback. You can get it in hardcover. You can even get the Kindle edition. It's on sale right now over on Amazon. Or if you want a signed copy, you can go to my website, justinstaton.com, and pick up a copy. It's great for the holidays. It's a quick read. I wrote this book. It's quick hitting, fast paced, fast action. You can sit down and read this in one sitting or a weekend. I met a lady who read it on a flight from Columbus to Dallas. I wrote it with the TikTok attention span in mind. So it reads kind of like a TikTok post. So pick it up. It's great for your college kids, high school kids. If you got young people in your family, it is great book to peek behind the curtain of how our systems in America, the systems that you and I hold near and dear, have been hijacked by the elites at our expense. And what we can do about it, and how we can take back our country and our voices. So We the Puppets, Justin Staton, and you can get that over on Amazon.com. It is on sale for the holidays, or my website, justinstaton.com. And I appreciate all of you who've already picked up a copy. Thank you very much. And for the feedback, it's been amazing. I love you guys, and I appreciate you. All right, coffee break. Let's get a little bit of coffee in here before we keep going. I hope you guys got some coffee. I think this is Folgers. I don't know. It's probably, somebody once told me that Folgers has like a mold in it, and Folgers don't like come at me or whatever. I'm not saying it's true. Somebody told me that like Folgers and Maxwell House, like the popular coffee that you can find there on the grocery store shelves, that it has like mold in it. Is that true? Do you guys know, like, if it's like comes imported full of mold and then they just like basically burn it off or like chip it up and they're like, oh, just a little bit of mold, not gonna hurt nobody. I don't know. But if this is moldy coffee, it's beautiful. I'm gonna take a swig real quick before we get on to this Fannie Willis thing. Oh, yeah, it's good coffee, guys. All right. So, legal setback for Fannie Willis. I love this because Judicial Watch, which, if you guys are not familiar with Judicial Watch, you guys have to let me actually cue this up here for you guys. Ooh. So, Judicial Watch, I'm going to share this instead. So, judge orders Fannie Willis to hand over Trump case records. And this is huge. This is why I wanted to talk about it today. Because Judicial Watch, which is a watchdog, right, for like government transparency, they sued Fannie Willis's office to get all the records about any correspondence that Fannie Willis or her team had between Jack Smith, the House committees investigating January 6th for the Capitol riots, or anybody in the DOJ, right? This is huge. So a Georgia judge ordered Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis to release her communications with federal investigators and congressional panel related to her prosecution of former President Donald Trump. A ruling from an open records lawsuit filed by conservative watchdog group, the New York Post reported. Willis must turn over all communications with special counsel Jack Smith and the House J6 committee to the conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch following a ruling by a Georgia judge on Tuesday. So this ruling came in by Judge Robert McBrooney. Like that matters, but he gave Willis a mandate that she had to release these records, and that this was a violation. Her office, Fannie Willis, which, I mean, is this really any surprise? But her office is in violation of Georgia's open records law. So apparently, Judicial Watch filed a request for these records back in August of 2023. And they have still have not got them, which is why they filed this additional lawsuit. Well, it was a records request. That records request went completely ignored by Fannie Willis's office, to the point where they had to file suit in order to try to get these records, because at that point, Fannie Willis was in violation of Georgia's open records laws. Now, just think about that aspect of this for 1 second. Here's again another leftist progressive that the only reason she breathes oxygen and has an existence or a purpose in this world was to go after Orange Man, right? Orange Man bad. I live and breathe to just try to take down Orange Man. I wonder if they're like secretly, like I wonder about this sometime. Do like the progressives and the crazy liberals? We're not using that word anymore. Well, I guess there are crazy liberals, but we're not going. Liberals are good people, like classical liberals. But I often wonder if the left, the Democrats, the crazies, the progressives, like, is there like some trophy somewhere? Like if there is, somebody like reach out and let me know. It's like, is there like this golden cup trophy of like that you get it, or like with like a bounty purse of like $1 billion for the first person that can get Trump in jail? Like, is that a thing? Like the first person that can actually get Orange Man, is it's like the Orange Man trophy, right? Is there? Does that exist? Do you guys have that? Like, there's got to be something here, right? There's got to be something between you progressive crazies on that side that, like, it's like I imagine like this big, like, trophy with like a big cup, and in it is like a check for $1 billion, or it's like I don't know. It's like, I don't know why, but the vision of the Orange Bowl trophy, it's like the big bowl with all the oranges in it, like Orange Man bad, like, and like whichever progressive radical leftist gets Trump first gets the trophy and the $1 billion check. Is that a thing? Because that's what it seems like with these people. They're effing crazy. But anyway, they're out there saying that, oh, Trump's a criminal, doesn't respect the rule of law, blah, blah, blah. But here is the prosecutor in Georgia in violation of Georgia's open record laws, completely ignoring a records request because of the information that she has to release. Because all of these people and her boyfriend, who came and testified before Congress, said that there was no, not communication, but no coordination with anybody in the Department of Justice. And so this watchdog group, Judicial Watch, is like, let's find out about that. Why don't you just go ahead and release all the records pertaining to your communications and meetings with not only Jack Smith, right? Disgraced Jack Smith, right? Not only your records with him, but anybody in the Congressional J6 committee or anybody else in the Department of Justice. Now, if they had nothing to hide, right? If Fannie Willis had nothing to hide, and if that attempted prosecution was on the up and up, why wouldn't you just release the records, right? I mean, guys, we have to get back to logic and common sense. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, language alert, it's a fucking duck. It's a duck. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And we have to get back to logic and reasoning when looking at these things. If they had, just like this Hunter Biden pardon, like if it was just for his gun form that he filled out improperly, right? That's what they want to tell you. Or his tax evasion, that's what the pardon would have said. But no. He got a decade-long pardon going back in time over a decade to cover up for all the crimes he committed. Guys, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And so stop trying to make excuses. Stop trying to do Olympic level mental gymnastics of illogical and stupid arguments because it's your side, right? Like you just look pathetic. You look stupid when you try to stick up for these things or take a moral high ground and say, oh, well, but Trump's an adjudicated rapist. Like you are an embarrassment when you say that shit. And you don't see it. Like everybody cringes. Everybody with a brain and logic and reasoning cringes listening to you guys. It's horrible. And on shit like this, guys, if there's smoke, there's fire. If Fani Willis's office was not in any way coordinating with the Department of Justice, they would just release the records, right? They would just release the records, but they wouldn't. So Judicial Watch had to sue them. And a judge has now ruled that they have to release the records. So stand by because it will be interesting to see what these records say. And I'm sure there's going to be games played in releasing the records. Like they're going to release a couple things or, at a time and be like, oh, well, we forgot about that thing. Or some things will be redacted for no reason whatsoever. I mean, they'll play games with it, but it'll be interesting to see what exact communication Fani Willis's office has had with the Department of Justice and congressional members. And was the federal government, was the Department of Justice actually coordinating with them in helping a local prosecutor prosecute Donald Trump? Were they giving her direction on how to prosecute this case? Because, it's okay to lend resources, right? The DOJ can lend out FBI resources to help in investigations and collecting evidence and et cetera. That's all above board, right? But if it's a state prosecution, the federal government cannot tell them how to prosecute this case or how to go after Trump, right? Because that would be clear evidence that Biden, which we already know it's true, guys, because if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Where there's smoke, there's fire. We got to get back to logic and reasoning. We already know the Biden administration weaponized the DOJ to go after their political opponent, Trump. But we want to see it. Like we want the evidence. We're like, hey, we want the effing evidence. Like, let's see it. And down there in Georgia, I think the devil went down to Georgia. Sorry, Charlie Daniels. The devil's in Georgia, and they're going to pay a price for this because it's obvious they were coordinating with DOJ and Jack Smith and everybody in the Jan 6 Select Committee. What a joke. But this judge has ordered, so keep your guys' eyes on Georgia. This is awesome. I mean, it's no surprise Fani Willis is a corruptocrat that's dodging the records request. She's in violation of the law. Some prosecutor that violates her own laws in her own state. But I think there is exposure here. I think there was coordination between Willis's office and the federal entities mentioned. And I think as long as it comes out and we can see it, there won't be a ton of impact on the integrity of DOJ moving forward, as long as they're honest about it. Now, I can't speak for Fani Willis's integrity down there in Georgia, but folks in Georgia, we'll let you take care of that. Like you guys can, do your thing down there and get her out of office. So, I don't know. Again, with all these topics, I'd love to get your guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts on the transparency of this investigation? Do you actually think the prosecution down there in Georgia has been transparent? Yeah, Fani Willis is. I mean, it's already kind of a shit show, clown car like thing, right? Like, I mean, she hired her boyfriend so they could hang out more, and he could have a job, and it was corrupted. It was literally a political prosecution, so she had to hire somebody close to her that would do what the unethical things and work around the edges that most attorneys with an actual backbone and integrity and character wouldn't do. So they screwed the pooch from the beginning. But do you guys believe that political bias was at play here? I do. I'm just going to tell you. But I want to know what your thoughts are down in the comments. So let me know. I just think this ruling will underscore the critical need for openness, right? And I mean, this is why we voted for Trump. We need openness. We need transparency in this, especially from the DOJ. And kudos to Judge McBurney, who laid down this order and said, absolutely, you're in violation of the records law here in Georgia, and you need to release this information over to Judicial Watch. And kudos, Judicial Watch, for all of the work you guys do. I mean, these guys are like, man, they're gangster. They go after people, and they are not afraid to sue. They're a bunch of attorneys that just care about government transparency. And that one article said they were like conservative. Oh, they're conservative watchdog. No, they are just a watchdog. Like they go after, they just want full transparency in the government. If they feel like it doesn't exist, they'll sue. They'll go after people. It's pretty amazing work they do. All right, so I want to get onto this House report on COVID-19, right? Drum roll, please. They've only been investigating it for 2 years, and then they released it yesterday, and they're like, oh, bombshell report on COVID-19 origins. Groundbreaking report from the House sheds light on origins of COVID-19, suggesting a lab leak as the probable source. I'm just, guys, there's no bombshell here, right? It's all hyperbole, right? My opening to this, saying, oh, bombshell report. I'm effing with you because, yes, a report did come out. Yes, they finally did 2 years. They wrapped up a 2-year investigation on the origins of COVID, and it got released yesterday. And it's like, how is this a bombshell when we all already knew? Like, okay, maybe it's confirmation that like we were right. Like the conspiracy theorists, right? The people that all you highbrow idiots out there who think you're highbrow called everybody conspiracy theorists. Well, the conspiracy theorists were right. Even Fauci was like, oh, there wasn't a lab leak. It happened in nature. John, you guys remember Jon Stewart going on Colbert? And like, just go back and play that clip, right? I should pull it up and look at it. He was right. We were right. We were all right. There's no bombshell here. It's just proof we were right. But they did 2 years of investigation. I don't know how much money they spent on this damn report and investigation. I'm sure it's a lot. I don't even know if I want to know the price tag on that investigation. But they spend all this time and all this money to tell us what we already know. So here are the key findings of this bombshell COVID-19 origins report. It likely originated from a lab incident at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. No shit. Like, really? That's the bombshell. We knew that. And every one of us was called a conspiracy theorist, or they were literally calling people racist because we said it originated in China. Like somehow we were racist for saying, well, I think it started in this virology lab where they're doing gain of function research in China. I mean, it kind of makes sense. And, oh, you're racist. Oh, okay, sure, whatever. Because you guys are effing morons. Like, just start hanging out with the conspiracy theorists because they seem to be right every time. But some other things that came out that were confirmed is that there was involvement of U.S. taxpayer dollars in funding gain of function research at the facility. That came out in this report. So if I was Anthony Fauci, Tony Fauci, Fauci grouchy pants, right? That guy, what an idiot, what a fool, what a moron, because he perjured himself. That guy is going to go to prison. And I kind of hope he does. Why? Not necessarily because he lied about the gain of function research when he testified in Congress, but because he misled the American people in a gross and negligent way about this virus. I mean, do you guys remember? Again, we can't forget. So he was telling people to put on 2 masks. 2 masks. 1 mask doesn't work, let alone 2. He was telling people to put on 2. And now he has been completely discredited. So, and this is for entertainment purposes. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you social media platforms out there, if you throttle what I'm saying here, I've got it right here. And I'll just go ahead and sue you for throttling because it's right here. I've got the report here. Actually, let me pull it up. It's right here. I'm going to share this with you guys. Boom. Here's the report right here. Select subcommittee on coronavirus. Oh, hold on. You guys can't see it yet. I'm learning. Here it is. Select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. Good job, Brad Winstrup. He's an Ohio guy. But you better keep getting work done out there, Brad, because I'm an Ohio guy too. And if you don't, we will band together and make sure you're primaried in 2 years. So toe the line, my guy. But good job on this. Good work. But here it is. So everything I'm saying, guys, comes from this report right here. Right. Oh gosh, did I just say how much? I think I just saw how much. Oh man, I don't want to know. Is it? Oh no, it cost $64 billion in taxpayers' dollars. Okay, they're talking about the Paycheck Protection PPP loans. Man, those were abused. God, so many people abuse PPP loans. Crazy. Anyway, I digress. So that came out that US dollars, taxpayer dollars, were involved in this gain of function research. And, so Fauci perjured himself. Fauci is probably going to go to jail. And I'm pretty sure he's already lawyered up. I'm pretty sure he's already ponied up for a good attorney. But that dude, that bro, he's going to jail. He lied to the American people. He misled us. He misled us on the origins of COVID. And the government response, there are now allegations of a cover up by both the Chinese and the U.S. authorities in this report. So both countries tried to cover up, destroyed records, etc., dismissed, or like Fauci did about gain of function research actually happening. It was a cover up between both the Chinese and the American government officials to try to downplay or destroy this narrative that it came out of a lab in China that the U.S. was also funding with U.S. tax dollars gain of function research. Which it kind of goes like, so for those of you highbrow idiots out there, this kind of makes you wonder. Now, let's just go back in memory lane here for a second. What was getting ready to take place in 2020? A presidential election. And so if we knew that we had gain of function research, because if you're doing it, you know what you're doing it on, right? So they knew this COVID SARS-CoV-2 virus existed before 2020. They knew because they were funding the research and they were curious about the research. Well, I mean, I know how this goes. It's not like you don't know what you're researching, right? So they know prior to 2020 that this SARS-CoV-2 virus exists, that they're doing gain of function research. They know what it's capable of doing. They know it's not super lethal, but can appear to be lethal and confusing, especially in the respiratory area, right? Like, because it attacks the alveoli more so than which is the gas exchange function of your lungs, more so than some other upper respiratory viruses. And they know about it. We're funding it. And then this report says that it actually was leaked out of that lab sometime prior to September 12th of 2019. September 12th of 2019. Just in time for when do most presidential cycles really pick up steam? Right? About a year out, right? And so I don't know. I'm just floating it. I don't know. But it seems very, very, very obvious to me that between this and man, was it weaponized. Man, was it. I mean, guys, think back to this. So Trump spent his last year campaigning, and the whole fucking campaign was in 2020 during this COVID outbreak. Joe Biden would have 12 chairs. Do you guys remember this? Go back and look it up and look at he would have 12 chairs at his events separated 6 feet apart. This man hardly ever campaigned. And when he did, he would have like 12 people at his rallies. It was dubbed the basement campaign because he literally almost never left his house because he didn't have to. Like, let's not forget about this. This is important to remember because of this virus that we now know the Chinese and U.S. governments tried to cover up that did leak out of a lab in Wuhan, China. And we were using U.S. tax dollars to fund gain of function research at that lab. It's in the report. You guys can go look it up right now. It's in that report. And it magically comes out in September of 2019, leading into a presidential. And remember, we got in the full swing of it, and Trump's like, oh, I'm going to do this Operation Warp Speed to get a vaccine, which again, I think is horrible. I think the vaccines were, and I don't even know if I'm probably going to get throttled for mentioning the word vaccine, whatever. But for me, it's like, I didn't want it. But I don't care if other people get it. That's fine. I just don't want something that's untested. Right. But if you guys remember when Trump was like, okay, Operation Warp Speed, all the left was like, guys, no. There's nothing to see here. There's not a big deal. Nancy Pelosi was like, come on down to Chinatown. No, I'm not making this up. There's videos. She was out saying, guys, Trump is overplaying this. Come on out to Chinatown. There's nothing to worry about. Like, come out and get infected. They were pushing rioters into the streets to protest everything they could find that was, look like a civil rights issue, which it wasn't 9 times out of 10. And, how many more people were infected because Democrats were like, no, come out, go out in public. And they were like that until they got in power. And then they were like, nobody goes out in public. I mean, you guys, do you remember this? So you release a virus or leak it in 2019, leading into a presidential election. You try to cover it up. When our tax dollars were actually helping fund the gain-of-function research at that lab, possibly on the SARS-CoV-2 virus. You release it going into the presidential election. You tell everybody everything is fine until you get in power, and then you lock everything down, right? Remember 2 weeks to slow the spread? How'd that go, right? A year and a half later, 2 years later, we still have COVID restrictions. It was the greatest assault on civil rights in history, quite literally. I mean, one of the greatest, because I already know you progressive tards out there. What about civil? I'm not saying civil rights weren't important. I'm just saying, like, you could still go to the damn church. We couldn't do anything during COVID. It was locked down. Don't leave your house. It was a huge violation of our civil rights. Huge constitutional civil rights. And you have all this happen around a presidential election, and then somehow miraculously, where you have 3 or 4 or 5 states that go out and change their laws. Actually, they didn't change the laws. They just changed how they were going to cast votes with mail-in ballots because of COVID, right? Because of the virus that we helped create, that we now know based off of this report, we were helping fund, right? And then, oopsie-daisy, we let it out, and then we try to cover it up like, oh, it came from bat soup. Like, are you serious? Well, nothing to see here. It wasn't us. And then we have states change how people can vote, mass mail-in ballots, which are ripe for fraud. And we end up with 20 million more voters in the 2020 election than the election cycle prior and this election cycle that we just went through. Where'd the 20 million go? And I know there's people out there literally still trying to, make excuses for that. And there's some of you legitimately out there saying the same questions, even on the left, even on the Democrat, like, where did those 20 million people go? They weren't there, guys. They utilized everything COVID to thwart the American people because, guys, let's be honest. And this is why Trump supporters and MAGA people say, no, the election was stolen from Trump. There was fraud. This is why. Because you had mass mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots, even the New York Times reported on it several years ago, are ripe with fraud. And no 2020 election case has actually been tried. They were all thrown out on technicalities. Only one was thrown out by an appellate court on merit. Out of the 64, and I could be off on that, 64, 84, something like that, cases that were filed by a Trump team or Trump associates, only one was thrown out based off the merits of the claim. All the rest were technicalities. So we've never actually litigated the 2020 election. It's never happened. And for all of you lefties out there that watch brainwashing CNBC, or not CNBC, sorry, CNBC, you guys are not too bad. You got a couple good people on there. MSNBC and CNN, that's what there is no evidence. Even Fox News, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Well, because none of the evidence was actually brought to court. We never actually got a chance to look at the actual evidence because there were tens of thousands of affidavits filed by people in different states and voting precincts saying, oh no, there was fraud. But we never got to hear it. We never got to hear it because you guys squashed it like a grape. You squashed it like a grape. And I think we're going to get to hear it now that Trump's coming back. And I hope we do get to hear it. And I hope we relitigate 2020. I really want to know how many of the mail-in ballots in 2020 were fraud, because 20 million people didn't show up this election cycle that showed up in 2020 when everybody had to stay at home and could mail in a ballot. So this is not a bombshell report. We knew where the virus came from. Like literally year one, we were like, oh yeah, this came from Wuhan. Okay. Like we knew this isn't a bombshell surprise. But knowing that the U.S. not only was using taxpayer money to fund gain-of-function research at that same facility, but they also helped work to cover up the original origins. And why would they do that? Where there's smoke, there's fire. We just got to get back to logic and common sense, guys. And Fauci and other NIH officials that downplayed this lab leak theory and called people conspiracy theorists and ridiculous. Like, dude, you testified. You testified under oath. And you even said there was that we never funded gain of function research. You're going to jail, my friend. But I just think I don't think this is going to be an erosion of confidence in the public and health institutions. I mean, I think the vaccine mandates and all that, I think that has maybe for decades to come eroded public's trust in healthcare and mandates and all of that. But I don't think this report is going to erode any more trust that's already been eroded, because we already knew. We already knew. It's kind of like how we already knew Biden was going to pardon his son. Like we know. And you guys are like, breaking news. That's not breaking news. That's obvious news. Like the breaking news was, oh, he did it for 10 years, right? It's not breaking news that the origin of COVID-19 came from a lab in Wuhan. The breaking news is how our government helped cover up the origin story and how they actually lied about the gain of function research that we helped fund. And you got to ask, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Well, I'll tell you why, because there was a presidential election that they thought, oh, this might be a good tool to help affect this election. These people aren't stupid. I mean, good liars like the Democrats, like the Bidens and the Democrats and the Obamas. They're not dumb people. They're really, really good at manipulating. They're really, really good at looking, 5, 6, 7 steps ahead and crafting a narrative about what we're going to do and how we're going to spin this. J6. I mean, I got to say no more. You're going to find out about J6. I mean, you heard it here. Call me crazy. Call me conspiracy theorist. I don't care. But you're going to find out that there were federal informants and feds in that crowd that day, stoking the flames, pushing people to break laws. You're going to find out, because guys, where there's smoke, there's fire. Same thing here with COVID. These guys are corrupt. They would do anything. They don't care. They don't care if millions of people were affected by COVID. They don't care. They only care about power. And the truth's going to keep coming out, and it's going to keep being bad. That's all right. We're going to clean it up. So how do these revelations affect your guys' trust in public health? Does it at all? Let me know in the comments. What steps do you think should be taken to ensure accountability? Do you think Anthony Fauci should go to jail? Let me know. Based off of this new report, do you think he should go to jail? Let me know in the comments below. I think we all knew. We all knew that where the true origins are. So this isn't just for accountability, but to prevent future pandemics, we need transparency. Like we need to know what research is going on, where it's going on, and what you're actually researching. We have a right to know, because if you idiots release something from a lab again, we got to deal with it. So it's just best to, be honest on the front end and tell us what we got going on. But you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Excuse me. I've got a little bit of tickle in my throat. So that's it on the COVID-19. Not really a bombshell. Not really, they really came out hard yesterday. Bombshell COVID report. And I was like, we already knew, dude. Like we knew where it came from. It's nice to get confirmation that we did fund the gain of function and all that. But anyway, I digress. All right. So here are my final thoughts, guys. And I don't know why I can't clear my throat. Let me mute my mic here for a second. A gash, bless. All right. Final thoughts. I think today's discussions, guys, highlight the power of public opinion, right? We have a voice, we can use it, and we need to use it. It also highlights the importance of transparency, which in our legal system, which we have all called for, right? This whole Fannie Willis thing, we need more transparency in the legal system. We need to not weaponize our legal system to attack people who think differently politically. It's got to go away. And I think Kash Patel coming in, whether Fannie Willis releases that stuff or not, Kash Patel is going to on the DOJ's end. And I know, and you guys are probably thinking this too. Like the shredders at the DOJ, man, they're working overtime. They're probably bringing in shredding trucks. Like we gotta kill it all. But hopefully, there's some patriots out there that saved all of it. But I think we need more transparency in our legal system. That's why we voted for Trump, and the critical need for for truth and public health. Otherwise, the next crisis, we're not going to believe them, right? So there's got to be transparency. They've got to bring it to the forefront. Otherwise, they're like the boy who cried wolf on steroids. And we're not going to believe them in the next true, genuine crisis because they lie to us too much. So it's important. Transparency is important. I mean, children's book teaches these lessons very easily. Maybe they should pick up a couple children's books because clearly Harvard and Yale educations, and I'm not beating up on everybody from Harvard or Yale, but clearly those types of educations don't teach common sense about why it's important to be honest and transparent. So maybe we can get there. But anyway, guys, if you found this episode insightful, please like, subscribe, and share it with your network. It would mean the world to me. Your engagement helps us continue these important conversations because when you do that, it raises the show up in every single algorithm on every single platform it's on, and more people can find it. So if you found this insightful, not only hit the subscribe button, not only give it a like, but please give it a share. And if you're on like the Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it is so very important that you leave a review. I hope it's 5-star, but if it's not, leave some feedback. If you're going to leave less than a 5-star review, then at least put your feedback in there so I can make the show better for you. So join us next time, guys. We're going to, keep holding these guys' feet to the fire on every next episode. I will be back here tomorrow once again to hang out with you guys and talk about this stuff. And if you guys want to see anything different on the show, you guys can let me know right here in the comments section, or you can go over to my website, justinstaten.com, and leave a comment over there. I literally get every single one of them. I read every single one of them. I mean, I had a gentleman reach out to me the other day and listens to the shows, buying the book. And he's like, hey, man, can we get on a phone call? And I'm like, sure, we can talk. So actually be on the phone with him today. So if you guys want to get a hold of me personally, just go over to the website, fill out the form, and I will be glad to hang out and talk to you. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. I love you. We got a lot of work to do. But until we talk again, as always, stay informed, guys. Stay strong. But most importantly, stay in the fight. Okay, guys. Till next time.